Hello, hello. Welcome, soccer, football, or foot boy, maybe, potentially. How's it going, boys? What is poppin'? How do you be? My man ain't speaking English. I do not understand you, brother. Me do not know. I see so much no Valkyrie in there, so you're talking about Ragnarok, but apart from that, no clue. Alright, everything should be working fine. I shall turn on the face cam in a second. Mr. Pedro. Is there subtitles on live streams? I don't think so. There's no shot they do automatic subtitles. That'd be kinda crazy. Alright. Should be good to rumble. The links have been posted in the Discord as always. Alright. Oh, did I miss a donation? Is the camera working? Hello, hello. Welcome, boys. I think that's high quality. Purple Heart Neptune, thanks for the $1.99. Okita vs Susanoo is one of top 3, if not top 5. We shall see about that, but thanks for the $1.99. I'll put you on the screen. Truly a mad lad. Let's save it in here. I think Okita vs Susanoo is a controversial fight. There's a lot of people who love it, and there's a lot of people who hate aspects of it. A bit controversial. Not that one, mate. Round 3 over the rest. I mean, you don't see many people hating on round 3. That's for sure. Unpopular opinion, I think Loki vs Simo is my favorite. Yeah, I think that's pretty unpopular. I've seen some people say it's their favorite, but if you had to poll every regular Ragnarok fan, I think it would be in the lower percentiles as their absolute favorite. Unless you're talking to people who just care about Simo and only read the series due to Simo, which is a decent number of people. So in that sense, the fight will probably be number 1 for you. But pretty much we have round 1 to 11, and then we have the 3 fights which have concluded in Apocalypse of the Gods, meaning as a whole there's 14 placements on the tier list. There's Peak, which in my opinion is the best fight in the series thus far, the worst fight, and then rank 13 to 10, 9 to 6, 5 to 2. So top 5 pretty much, rank 1, middle range, and then the lower end and certified worst fight. I will rank the main series fights first, and then at the end I'll go over the Apocalypse ones, because it's not exactly that fair to compare main series to Apocalypse fights, considering the scale. I mean, the issue is you can only have 3 fights in the top 3. Like, you say round 2 is the best fight, so that's rank 1, and then Beelzebub and Tesla have to be rank 2 or 3. That means you only have 1 more fight to go on the top 3. So it's quite hard. I mean, it's objectively true that every fight is good as well, which makes it even harder. There's no bad fights in the main series. I'll start the tier list in a few minutes. Wait for the stream to warm up. But feel free to drop your hot takes. Which fight do you think has aged the best? For example, on a reread, it may be better than like initially when you first read it, or if you've been within the Record Ragnarok fandom for a while and have been reading fights as chapters come out. Because for me personally, I caught up to Record Ragnarok right after Sasaki defeated Poseidon. So I read round 1 to 3 pretty much in like 1 or 2 sittings, like binge reading. And then I was reading pretty much monthly since Jack the Ripper vs. Hercules. So that was the first fight I was reading release by release. But I would say I was properly into the series around the start of Raiden vs. Shiva. That's when I started making like consistent videos on it. Round 10 is severely overhated. I mean, to a degree, but I've also seen people rank it as the best fight and top 3 already, even in this stream. So, there's 2 sides. People who hate it and people who love it. Round 9 wasn't bad, only because of Polo. I expected more from Leonidas. Apollo was great. Definitely one of my favorite gods, but Leonidas was a disappointment to pretty much everyone. I could probably do, after the original tier list, I'll do the, like, I'll talk about future ones I'm most hyped for. But before I begin, what do you guys consider the worst fight? Just out of the main series, not considering Apocalypse. Out of the main Record of Ragnarok series, what would you rank personally as the worst fight? And I should start a poll for something as well. Buddha verse 0 / Hajun, 1 fight or 2? So when I rank Buddha verse 0 and Buddha verse Hajun, I'm starting a poll in the chat. Should I do it as 1 fight or should I rank them separately? So consider Buddha verse 0 as its own fight and then Buddha verse Hajun as its separate thing. Or should I rank them as 1? So when I put them on a tier list, they'll just be next to each other if it's like 1 because it's separated here. Just vote on that poll. We've got some Thor versus Lubu as the worst fight. We've got round 9 Leonidas as the worst fight. Round 1 Age Like Fine Wine, but the worst fight is Apollo's. Huang vs Hades. Funny enough, Huang vs Hades is the best fight as voted on by the Japanese audience, which is kind of funny. So from a Japanese audience perspective, Huang vs Hades is rank 1. Shiva vs Raiden and Apollo vs Leonidas. Round 1 is held by the Lubu spin-off. Should I allow spin-off enhancements? No, I'll just say just based on the round itself. No additional content to enhance like the characters. Just pretend the side mangas don't exist when ranking the rounds. Kinda unfair for people like Lubu, Jack the Ripper, and Okita. But even though most people haven't even read the Okita one. I think the first fight in Apocalypse was hype, but lackluster considering the one shot. But considering we had never had something like that at the time, it was like insanely shocking. So I think it was good. Exactly. People don't even know Okita's has a spin-off. Like Okita's spin-off occurred before Record of Ragnarok even began. Mugetsu, thanks for the 2. Bleach fan. Nice, nice. Do you think Lubu's Sky Eater can kill Shiva? So let's say it like this. If Shiva was to stand still and Lubu was to unleash his Sky Eater directly at Shiva, it would probably kill him. But the issue in the setting of a fight, can Lubu get in a situation where he can unleash it directly, where it's going to hit Shiva directly and one-shot him? If he can, maybe. If Shiva can use his unpredictable movement, his insane combos, maybe even dodging ability, maybe not. But if he's able to land it, he'll be able to kill him. Because even though I don't like Lubu myself and think he's kind of weak, his raw strength when it comes to that attack is definitely one of the highest in the series. And if Raiden can pretty much rip off Shiva's arms and like destroy him with his like palm, Lubu Sky Eater is going to do some insane damage. That is for sure. So, as a whole, from what I've seen in the chat, the worst fights are between round 1, Thor and Lubu, and round 9, Apollo vs Leonidas. There's been some other off choices, but that seems to be the main consensus. Just talking about the main series. There has been some mentions of Raiden vs Shiva. Round 9 is worse than round 1. Don't forget to vote on the poll. It seems like the one fight vote is winning. Because the rankings are quite different in regards to the Buddha fight. If I rank Buddha and Zero alongside Buddha and Hajun as one entire fight, it's much higher for me. But if you rank Buddha and Zero and then Hajun versus Buddha as separate, the rankings are quite different. Particularly Buddha versus Zero. That's definitely on the lower end. Maybe even the worst on its own. Should I rank them in order? Maybe I need to start another poll. Or just let me know in the chat. Should I rank them in order of round or in order of the tier list as I start from what I believe is the worst? Yes. Rank in order, round. So type in the chat whether I rank in round order or ranking order. Round or ranking? Round. Okay. Chronological. Yep. Okay. So, Thor vs. Lubu. Honestly, people hate on it, but it's a very good start of the series. Like, for an introduction of a manga, I think it provides everything you really need. We get the gods set up as insanely powerful, somewhat unknown as we didn't get a lot from Thor, but maybe that helped in like the broader perspective, still leaving more to be desired, and the gods being viewed as so strong, destroying humanity in the round one, kind of set the stakes at a higher standard. So for a first fight, I think it did quite well. John Shelby, is that a Peaky Blinders, mate? Do you think Buddha can see/predict Shiva's movement? Yes. He should be able to, because Shiva's movement is described as like unpredictable, but the way Buddha's future sight works isn't based on prediction. He pretty much sees the soul of any living creature in the Ragnarok universe, and it's stated that the soul moves before the body. So as Shiva is dancing around, Buddha will see the soul like going there. So he will know where Shiva's going to go. So Buddha will be a counter to that in a sense. But someone like Sasaki, who kinda relies on predictions more so, may be in some trouble. But Buddha will just be a direct counter to the unpredictable movement. But thanks for the 249. Cheers, mate. Chuck you on screen. Round 1 can't be higher than 10. So that's what I mean. People rank round 10 as one of the best or one of the worst. So, Thor vs. Lubu, as a first fight, is good. On a reread, it doesn't quite hold up as much as the other fights. And even the art is a little bit, not bad, but rough in comparison. It's still good art, but it's more rough, which may be more appealing to some of you. It could be the worst, but I'm going to rank it in this group for now. I may make adjustments throughout. I think it's a good first fight in the series. I think it's a fun reread. You don't really care much about either character. Like Lubu gets enhanced a lot more with his side manga, but not taking that into account, and later stuff for Thor in the main manga, it's quite limited. And it is on the shorter end as well. I believe it's 7 chapters. It might be even 6 chapters, actually. Let me double check that. So technically, Thor defeats Lubu at the end of chapter 6, and the walkout starts, or Lubu and Thor's walkout occurs in chapter 1. But we do have a little bit of extra content in chapter 7, so it's pretty much a 6 chapter fight, which could actually be the shortest. Considering chapter 1, a good chunk of it was the introduction to the series, and then chapter 7 was mostly aftermath, Adam getting chosen, his walkout, stuff like that. But round 1 was good enough to get me to continue reading the series. And To make it clear, we're just talking about the anime, not the anime, the manga. What am I saying? Just the manga version of the fights. Even though I think the anime did well for certain ones, such as Raiden vs Shiva, I actually preferred it in the anime due to some pacing adjustments they did, but mostly just talking about the manga here. Alright, so that's in that group. Adam vs Zeus. So this is the fight that pretty much got me addicted to the series, I'll say. First time reading that was like next level. It is on the shorter end as well when it comes to the broader all fights. The flashbacks for two of them were okay, nothing that much, but both incredibly badass. Adam remains as one of the most popular characters. Zeus, I think, is overhated. I think Zeus is a go-to character throughout Ragnarok as well. I would say it's still fun on a reread, but it is kinda limited in what it provides. Like Adam countering a few times, then a bunch of clashes, and that's pretty much it. There's not an insane depth to the fight. It's actually hard to rank. It's definitely between rank 2 and rank 9 around this group. I don't have it as my best fight in the series, like as my rank 1. I used to have it higher, I think, but as time has gone on, I think there's been fights I've enjoyed more. Has it left my top 5 though? It may be rank 6, but also maybe rank 5. I'm thinking 5 or 6. For me personally. Purple Heart, thanks for the $4.99. Don't like it purely because I don't like looking at naked men. Personal preference, respect for the fact that others like it. I mean, that's fair enough. Adam's design is, you know, there's a leaf. At least there's a leaf. You could say it was more of a covering than what Raiden got, though. Kinda. And to be fair, people probably like that as well. The naked Adam. Funny enough, when I used an anime clip once of like the Adam and Zeus fight, I think the video got age restricted because of some Adam scenes. But thanks for the $4.99. 2 to 5 is good. I think the more so recent fights have been lacking in transformations. Like when Zeus pulled out his Adamas form, that was hype. That was a peak moment. And then since then, we haven't had too many transformations per se. At least in the recent fights. Loki didn't have one, like, in the normal sense. Susanoo didn't have one. Apollo didn't have one. Beelzebub didn't have one. Hades didn't have one as well. So yeah. Where are those transformations at? Those were fun. Alright, so I'm going to leave it in here for now. As I said earlier, as soon as we get some issues, I have to make some adjustments. But we have round 3. Sasaki vs Poseidon, where humanity was able to claim the first victory. History's greatest loser being the first one to win. Brynhilde not knowing who to pick after facing 2 defeats in a row. It was an amazing victory. Poseidon was set up as a great villain in that sense. Everyone hated him and wanted him to die. And then when we finally got it, it was great to see. Will always be goated because it was the first victory for humanity. And truly change the stakes of the entire story. The gods are actually threatened for real. But is it better than Adam vs. Zeus? The ending's better. I like Sasaki more as a character potentially. But I think it's slightly below. Bro, rounds 2, 3, and 4 are so perfectly combined. That is true. I do agree with that. We got the first Greek god Zeus coming out, demonstrating what the peak of the gods is capable of, but also showing that humanity can push them to the brink. Then we have Poseidon, who's directly compared to Zeus many times, but has insane overconfidence, his pride, all that other stuff going for him. Versus history's greatest loser, who continues to improve no matter what, defeating a god. And then we get Jack vs. Hercules, where it's pretty much the Greek gods wanting to get revenge for the defeat of Poseidon. And the one selected to do so was Hercules. And this fight was more so the first time we were introduced to Brunhilde's broader strategy when it comes to choices. In the sense, she reveals outright that, yeah, I put someone on the roster to defeat Hercules since the very start, and that man was Jack the Ripper. It had the first unique arena. It was fighting in London, and it was allowed by Hercules once again due to his character. We had 2 great flashbacks. I think Jack the Ripper's may be the best in the series, even to this day. And Hercules, well, personally, I don't care much about his character. I think his flashback is still good. We had a crazy unique Valkyrie ability as well that enhanced the fight. Various twists and turns, you had no idea what was going on. And then the unexpected win of Jack the Ripper using his own blood as a divine weapon in the last second to pierce Hercules. And get back-to-back wins. When I was reading it, I didn't think it was going to happen. Humanity's fighter being the villain in the fight as well as this greatness. It's still my favorite fight in the whole manga. It is the peak. It has not been defeated. Thank you for the $5, mate. What's your name? Gib Devil Fruit. We've got a One Piece fan in the house. Do you think we'll see Huang again? And if he will do anything else in the story? And what do you think will happen after gods vs humans win Ragnarok? I can answer that. So funny enough, Huang is the longest time we've had to wait for a victor to return to the story. Even in the most recent chapter, we got to see Apollo again, reacting to the Loki and Simo fight, but still no Huang. The last time we saw him, he was alongside his Valkyrie, knocked out in the healing chamber, and he is yet to return. So personally, I would love for him to return to the series and be like a commentator. I do have my question marks around what he would exactly say, but he could probably have a good dynamic with people like Sasaki and some other characters. Maybe even Jack the Ripper or something, who knows. I think it would be pretty entertaining. It would definitely be more unique if they had him commentating on maybe the next fight. But do I think it's going to happen? I'll say yes. I mentioned before, but Huang is... He's rank 1 most popular character when it comes to the Japanese fandom. The top 3 is Huang, Buddha, and Kintoki. So, from a Japanese audience perspective, the authors should be very well aware of that voting poll. They know he's insanely popular, so bringing him back, I think, is going to happen. But what I think will happen after the gods or humans win Ragnarok. Considering the current round is Odin versus Kentucky, and I'm predicting Odin's victory, I think regardless of humanity winning or the gods winning, there's going to be some type of post-tournament fight, or the tournament gets cut short due to some Odin wild stuff going on. So there's going to be some type of battle against Odin, and maybe him summoning aspects of the primordial gods, or maybe succeeding in that way, but there's going to be some post-tournament or middle tournament battle. That is what I believe. But thank you for the 5, mate. I hope I was able to answer your question. We'll drink some water. And then we'll get into Raiden vs Shiva. What are your guys' thoughts on Raiden vs Shiva? Where do you rank it on my tier list right now? Or if you were doing the tier list? You would rank it 4th. Good fight, 6 to 9. Fourth best fight. So we've got some Raiden and Shiva enjoyers. We've got 9th. A little low. Personally, character-wise, I don't like Raiden. Like, I know I'm known as the Shiva hater guy, but I actually prefer Shiva many times over Raiden. So character-wise, I don't like Raiden. Shiva, I don't dislike, but he's by no means my favorite character. I think his flashback was pretty cool. Raiden's flashback, I guess, was interesting. But I don't know. I did not care about Raiden. I think it comes down to my dislike of Sumo or lacking of care for it. I think Shiva's transformation aspects were pretty sick. For a while, it was my worst fight. Like, not gonna lie, it could very well still be in there. But I'm thinking about it. I actually enjoyed the anime version of the fight, as I mentioned earlier. Because if you guys don't remember, in the manga, in the middle of the fight, we cut away to the introduction of Buddha. And that had that whole situation between Buddha, Loki, and the Lucky Gods. That was in the middle of the Raiden and Shiva fight. While for the anime version, they, right after round 5, Jack vs Hercules ended, they introduced Buddha and had that situation. Then they spent the remaining episodes on Raiden vs Shiva. So there was no cutaways, which kind of ruined the pacing. Or you could say more people became interested in Buddha rather than that actual fight. So in that sense, I think the anime did a good thing by changing the order around. I'm trying not to consider the Shiva fans part of my ranking. I'll put it in here. I think it's better than Thor vs Lubu. But for me, it's definitely not in the... Yeah, I don't think it goes in the top 10 for me. I think it's on the lower end. Probably my first main controversial take, considering a few of you guys said it was in your top 4 and some even number 1. I don't exactly remember the soundtrack in the anime, but I just remember enjoying it more so in the anime than the manga, which is the only fight I can say that for. But with that said, I haven't reread the manga fight in a while, so maybe on a reread it'll be better. But for now, it goes in there. Now we have the Buddha fights. So the poll, I'll end it. So 46 votes 52% said make it one fight, and 47% said two fights. So pretty close. So I might as well talk about both. When I do rank it on the tier list, I will rank it as one because that's what won the poll, but I'll just mention quickly where I would rank them as an individual. So Buddha versus Zero, if that was the entire fight and Hajun and that stuff didn't exist, it's probably the worst fight in the series. Buddha is like my second favorite character, but Zero is probably at the bottom. And it was pretty much a nothing fight. Zero's flashback, I guess, was okay. A bit whack in a sense, not gonna lie. His abilities were kind of cool, and then Buddha's abilities were kind of cool, but this fight alone is the worst. Buddha vs. Hajun was very interesting. The chapters featuring Hajun coming out of Buddha was like one of the most hype set of chapters at the time. Like everyone in the fandom was stunned. This was right after season 1 of the anime came out. We got the chapters featuring this, so everyone was like into the series, much more popular. Everyone freaking out like what's going on. We see that Buddha's future sight isn't working, and then we get this crazy demon looking creature coming out, and then him being truly a villain. Brain dead, but still a monster, and did well as a villain against, Buddha, and the fact that Zero was 100% gone. And then we had, I guess, a transformation in a sense where Buddha performed the volume with the remains of Zero's weapon. So this fight, I'll probably rank it like in this group. But in conjunction, both of them together, personally, I think this all goes in my top 5. And that's mostly due to Buddha, of course. As I said, my second favorite character, many people's favorite character, so much so that a lot of people just have to hate on Buddha due to their annoying fan base in a sense, but first time reading that whole span of chapters was definitely one of my favorite sections of Record of Ragnarok. It doesn't hit as hard on a reread as some others because it's kind of reliant on first time reading or viewing experience with the big shocks. But them combined into one is in my top 5. Yeah, I'll get into the Apocalypse fights later. I'm not considering those in the main ranking at the current minute. But of course, one of these 3 will be the worst fight, objectively. My question, how did Zero get invited to the tournament? That is true. And technically, it wasn't even Zero. It was Bishamonten, the leader of the Lucky Gods, who required all of them to fuse back together to create Zero, who's also trash. So, don't know what was going on with that. Yeah, and Zero Fuku is the only character not from mythology in the fighting in the tournament or from history or anything. It's just a made up creature. So yeah, there's downsides, but rereading or first time reading experience, and maybe number 1 for me, or maybe number 2 after Jack vs Hercules. By the way, the stream title is wrong. It says round 12. Yeah, we got introduced to the start of round 12. It's updated for round 12, meaning we have round 1 to 11 done. And I will be talking about Odin versus Kintoki after. Actually, I'll take this off the list so it doesn't ruin the placements. So just consider this as both Zero and Hajun. I'll put that at the end for now, so it doesn't ruin the look of the tier list. So Huang versus Hades, the fight we're getting at the start of season 3 coming in December. The battle between the kings. Hades pulling up out of nowhere in the Buddha fight, now wanting to fight to get revenge for Poseidon once again, and then Brunhilde being like, oh yeah, I have someone for him. Straight away chooses Huang, and then we have the wild fight. Huang's flashbacks are good. We have him literally battling a demon god creature to get his martial art. Then we have his childhood flashback with Best Girl. Then the Hades flashback is good as well. Fighting the primordial god Gaia. Him being a beast. Great stuff. The only main critique I have with it is Hades' abilities being quite lackluster. And pretty much being a Poseidon clone, just key differences. Just being, or having more strength rather than insane speed. But pretty much the same thing. But Huang's fighting style was great, but that's the only downside for me. But I do rank it in this group. And above Adam vs Zeus, for me personally. It may actually be my second favourite fight now. They are brothers with the same build, kind of makes sense. Yeah, in that regard it makes sense, but from a writing perspective, still kind of boring in that way. Like, even Poseidon had more unique moves in comparison. Like, at this point, Hades has the most tame set of abilities in the entire series. Especially for the stuff they could have drawn from when it comes to mythology around Hades. Like, they could have done a crazy amount. Like, his weapon absorbing his blood to get stronger, I guess was okay. But even that, compare that to any transformation, it's like not even close. But with that said, yeah, I have it ranked here. Like, those are my only critiques I have for it. With all that said, it's I have it ranked potentially as my second fight right now. And this was the first fight where I began predicting a draw in the series. And then I didn't really expect Hades to lose. I was like, oh yeah, I'll predict a draw, but then Huang pulled out that wild victory. Definitely one of the most shocking victories in the series as well. Yeah, I think it's a great fight. I'm very excited for the anime. This season's looking better than all the previous, so hopefully, and it does look like they absolutely cooked for round 7. It's also fun on rereads as well. So Wang vs Hades was the first time you were reading it release by release or month by month. Zeus is an old man despite being the youngest brother, indeed. That was never really explained, but people's theories it happens or it relates to his fight with his father Kronos. And maybe the fist that surpasses time. Alright, Tesla versus Beelzebub. So I recently made a video talking about that fight on the channel. I think this may be the most fun fight to reread. Tesla, true Mad Lad energy, that's for sure. Beelzebub, I think, has one of the best flashbacks in the entire series. Definitely most interesting considering the Satan stuff we still want information about. Most talked about. Even the interconnected flashback with more Hades stuff as well. Enhanced Beelzebub. Tesla's flashback, personally, I didn't care about. But everything else in regards to Tesla was great. Potentially the best ending of a fight as well, considering the insane twist from Beelzebub, the teleportation, and then Tesla's speech. I think it's in my top 5. Yeah, I think it's in my top 5 now. Like, the fight always hits on a reread. And like the art as well with the Tesla zipping around. Really putting round 7 and 6 over 3? I mean, I think so. Sasaki's goated, but Poseidon kind of sucks. And there's aspects of the fight that kind of annoy me. But it's still good. Beelzebub powers were really boring. I enjoyed the vibrations, I enjoyed the shield, and then chaos as well was insane. So I wouldn't say they're boring per se. Definitely much better than Hades for me. And then Tesla was like next level. I am worried that the anime may fumble in regards to this fight. But Beelzebub's abilities are more entertaining than Thor's, Poseidon's, Hades. Maybe even Hajun and Zero as well, for me. Poseidon doesn't use water? I mean, yeah. Why didn't Satan take over in the fight? Because Beelzebub wasn't trying to get himself killed. He was putting his life on the line rather than just trying to sacrifice himself. The video on my channel where I go over the Tesla and Beelzebub fight explains that. It was uploaded like, I think 2 weeks ago. But that is my top 5. No fight has changed that at the current minute. I could make some adjustments and move one fight out for this. As I said before, if we consider Buddha and Zero as separate fights, it probably goes something like this. But since the voting on the poll was considering them as one fight, I'll put it like this. Yeah, I'll leave it like that. Alright, now we have Leonidas versus Apollo. The fight next to round 1, people consider the worst. Personally, I think Apollo is one of the best gods introduced in the entire series. His abilities are some of the best as well. Leonidas, though, who I do think is overhated due to people's just whatever perceived wants around Leonidas. I guess they wanted the Leonidas in the 300 movie or something, I don't know, but overhyped by the fan base. But even then, I have major issues, particularly with his flashback and the way the fight was kind of set up with Leonidas having one-sided beef with Apollo. It does seem like Season 3 is going to add extra scenes around his Valkyrie, as that was a lacking part of that round as well in the manga. So it may be better in the anime season 3 than the manga, which is going to be interesting to see. I think you could very well rank it as the worst. But with that said, the final chapter of the fight, where we saw Apollo unleash his bow, and then Leonidas unleashing his truth shield, in conjunction with the insane clash at the end, and then Apollo eventually winning, that was definitely one of my favorite final chapters, like entirely out of all the rounds, definitely like top 5. But it wasn't enough to save the entire round. Like, I enjoyed Apollo's flashback when it comes to what they set up about his character, how he's a god who trains to become a god of many things. That was cool. But with that goofy lizard friend, I didn't really care about. And the Leonidas flashback, I didn't care about. So yeah. Out of the main series, I think it's the worst fight. And then when we get to Apocalypse, I'll make some adjustments when it comes to the tier list. But I think if you were to vote, like, if every person who's read Record of Ragnarok up to the current round, I think not a majority, but more people or not would have this as the worst fight or lower in the rankings. It may not be everyone's worst fight, but it won't be anyone's like top 3 or many people's top 3. We're ranking the Apocalypse fights after. I'll make adjustments to the tier list. Just the main series at the current minute. So that's the worst fight I'll have. Now, a controversial one to some people. We got Okita Tsuji versus Susanoo, where Okita Tsuji was able to claim the victory. Where do you guys have round 10? I'll start a poll for this one because I'm actually interested. Alright, so there's a poll in the chat for your ranking of round 10. If you think it's the best fight in the series, click peek. Between 2 and 5, 6 and 9, and 10 and 13. What do you guys personally have round 10? Mr. Ghoul, thanks for the $4.99. My top 5 probably looks like round 3, 8, 5, 2, and 10. Respectable. Like as I said, Sasaki vs Poseidon, still one of the most goated. Tesla vs Beelzebub, maybe the most fun to reread because it doesn't really rely on insane twists that much, but great. Round 5, Raiden vs Shiva in the top 5. Round 2 was great, and round 10, what we're currently going over. Like as I've said, all fights in the main series are good. Like maybe when I do in a future stream, I may do like a top 10 fights in all of like manga or anime. I think there may be some Record of Ragnarok ones in there. Like top 10 in all of anime and manga that I've read. So I don't think there's a bad fight in the main series so far. So based on the poll, rank 2 to 5 is currently winning. So Okita's flashback, not considering the side manga that features him, I think was fine. Susanoo's flashback, kinda goofy, but it was fine. I didn't have that much of a problem in regards to it. The arena being the Japanese setting from Okita's past, I think was a great touch. That was insanely cool to see. The art throughout that round could have very well been the best in the entire series. The art is definitely cooked to an insane degree. Okita's abilities with the inner demon and then his Valkyrie enhancing those aspects were pretty cool. The Susanoo stuff, in the sense how he's different to every other god, used godly and human blacksmiths working together to enhance his divine weapon. His studying of swordsmanship and all those other aspects were pretty cool. Even the subtle reveals about him being a god slayer as well, how he killed all like the evil gods in Japan or in the Japanese pantheon, was pretty sick as well. But my biggest issue, and will always remain as such, is Susanoo's continued glaze of Okita. It definitely took away Susanoo's appeal and his portrayal as a god for me. And even in the entire fight, there were moments where Susanoo was in the advantage. But when you reread it, you kind of see Okita as being superior in like many stages of the fight. Like shitting on Susanoo. So in that sense, Okita got like a much better portrayal than the god in that fight. Kind of similar to Huang vs Hades in a sense. Don't forget to vote on the poll, but it seems like a majority of you guys have it in here. Personally, I'm going to put it in here. I do think it's better than Raiden vs Shiva, Thor, and Lubu. So I think it's in this group, for me personally. Another issue I have is the ending. It's not that Okita won. I'm fine with him winning this fight. But my issue is what they did after that. Okita was hit directly by Susanoo's invisible blade, which technically should have killed him, but it somehow didn't. But the sacrificing of the inner demon makes sense. And then, as we know in Okita's flashback, the inner demon is what killed him. So the inner demon dying once again should result in Okita dying once again. And that was pretty much going to happen. But as we know, the primordial god ended up pulling up and saving Okita's life. And then Susanoo's portrayal as a god kind of fumbled more so with him kind of destroying himself with his ability. Like, yes, in that flashback, we saw a human use the same thing, and that human died after using it. But then Susanoo, who's meant to be a god many times superior than any human, starts cracking after using it once. If Okita definitively died, but got that win, like he defeated Susanoo without a doubt, claimed that victory, but due to the immense sacrifice and power of Susanoo, also had to sacrifice himself after the fight, I think I would have much more enjoyed it. Then my only issue would be like Susanoo's Okita glaze. But since that happened, it took some aspects away from me. But outside of those little like nitpicking issues, I think it's a good fight. I'd say, yeah, it's around there. Yeah. Alright, the most recent fight of the series. We got Loki versus Simo. It isn't actually the shortest fight. We found out that on the previous stream. It technically went for 9 chapters based on Simo and Loki's like introduction. So it is longer than round 1, 2, and I think one other round as well. Round 11, best. I'll start a poll for this one as well, because I'm kind of curious. Round 11, Simo vs Loki. So we've got peak, 2 to 5. I don't think it's many people, I haven't seen people say it's the worst fight in the series. But I haven't seen that many as well say it's the best. Alright, the poll has been released in the chat. Where do you personally rank round 11? I think Loki's flashback is one of the most important in the entire Ragnarok story. But not considering those aspects, it's maybe middle of the pack for me. I don't really care about him being in love with Brynhilde that much. But it had some funny aspects. But in reality, it is definitely one of the best. Simo's is okay. It provides enough for his character, but again, doesn't like shock me or surprise me that much. Do you think Loki vs Simo was planned by the authors? I feel like it wasn't, but still went really well. It might have been, but if it wasn't, I wouldn't be that surprised. We don't actually know how deep in the drafting the authors went when it comes to the matchups and who would win and stuff. Maybe if we got some information from them in some like additional content or whatever around their series planning, that would be pretty cool. But we don't really know any insight about that. Like we know in the canon of the story, Brynhilde says that certain fighters were chosen to face certain gods since the very start. But when the authors are writing the series, did they plan that? Or were they just deciding matchups round by round? Seems like rank 6 to 9 is currently winning the poll, and that is where I rank it personally. I have reread the fight a few times now since it officially ended. And yeah, I think I prefer it over Okita vs Susanoo. That may be controversial, but I think it's a little better. So that is my ranking of the main series. As a reminder to those of you who want to ask, if I consider Buddha and Hajun separately, this one goes like around here or like here, and then the Zero and Buddha goes into the worst fight, and it goes like that. But I'll put this rank one higher. Rank 6, 7, 8, and 9. Then rank 10, 11. And now we have the Apocalypse fights. Ra vs Kukulkan. The first one shot, you could say. Well, the real question is, which one's worse? Which is the worst fight out of these three? Let me know in the chat. What do you think is the worst fight in Apocalypse so far? It is the bottom, like, 3, of course. But what do you think is the definitive worst fight? Fight 2, Wukong vs Prometheus. I think Prometheus vs Wukong is the worst. Sun Wukong vs Prometheus. An issue with it is like people love Wukong, but I don't think anyone likes Prometheus. At least for Cuchulainn versus Ra, people like Ra, and Ra was cool. And then Cuchulainn was sick as well with his berserker and his spear. So I don't think Wukong's bias is enough to rank it higher. And then Sasaki vs Indra just had more in the fight itself, so it was more of a fight. It was an actual fight. So I will rank it. I do agree that Wukong and Prometheus is the worst. So I'd rank it like this at the current minute. And the enhancements as well. When Cuchulainn and Ra had the one shot, it was like insanely shocking because we've never had something like that in Ragnarok before. In conjunction with already the insane setup from Ra as like the supreme god of the ancient Egyptian pantheon, him clashing with Zeus somewhat, rebelling against the gods, and then beating up Cuchulainn for the first chapter, getting praise from every god, even Shiva, who's talking about his insane heat as well. Like, Ra was set up to an insane degree. And then the insane Berserker mode one shot was just crazy. And on the other hand, Sun Wukong had insane setup, had a fairly interesting flashback, but Prometheus was like, okay, so you're technically a Titan, you're the first outer god, but also a bit of a bozo. You got Hercules kind of sunning him as well, and Hercules is like on the low end of my personal favorite characters. Then he's like WWE Kronos entrapment stuff. And then of course getting one shot. So yeah. There wasn't much we got about Prometheus. It's quite the L. There is a chance. And those two being one-shots has set up Wukong versus the Demigods second bracket fight to be insanely hyped. So in that sense, it definitely helped quite a bit. But adjustments I would make to the tier list is I could switch out Sasaki and Poseidon to the top 5. Maybe with Beelzebub versus Tesla. But maybe due to recency bias and reading Tesla versus Beelzebub more recently, I think it's better. If anything, if I was to change it and not include rankings per se, I would probably do it like that if I weren't dedicated to certain rankings. That's probably how I would rank the fights. I do think Jack vs. Hercules is definitively my favorite fight. Like, I don't think I have any other fight that would replace it. Yeah, I hope it's just like a fan theory that isn't the case. Because you could argue the protagonist of the main series is Brynhilde, but that doesn't like take away from the fights. Like, anything can still happen. Yeah, maybe he started with like 5% and like it did some damage, but he was forced to use 15 after a bit. That could have been something to enhance it. And now we have Kentoki versus Odin. Where do you guys predict that fight going? Likewise with Morrigan versus Nezha. Please make current and all-time strongest One Piece character ranking. I will be doing that stream. Maybe later in the week. I'll do a stream on that. Make sure you got those notifications on. But more One Piece content is in the works. Did any of you guys see that Jujutsu Kaisen trailer as well for the Culling Games? That'd be looking quite wild. And still no One Punch Man Season 3 trailer. We are cooked. Forever cooked, stuck in the mud, drowning. One issue about round 10 I didn't mention before is in the middle of the fight and a little bit before, we did have the cutaways to the whole Buddha and Odin situation. So in that sense, it's similar to Raiden vs Shiva, where outside events may be more interesting to a lot of people, at least to me it was, which does take away from the fight. So maybe when it gets adapted in the anime, they change the order around, which could enhance it. I heard we're getting a movie too. That'd be cool. And I feel like with the success of the recent Demon Slayer movies, and even I think the JJK, the Yuta movie, did insanely well as also. So they're probably going to do like much more anime movies moving forward. Like if they want to have a chance to overthrow Demon Slayer and their like insane success, I believe already the new one coming out in this month, September now, like globally, has already done better than the Mugen Train one. So if they want an anime movie to do better than the Demon Slayer one, I think if they did a movie for the Gojo and Sukuna fight, I think that could potentially do it. Because we know One Piece movies do well, but not as good as Demon Slayer, or even close. Unless they do like a God Valley one, maybe then. And Dragon Ball doesn't do as good as well, but maybe because the superhero one was like, you know, not the most appealing to many people. But I think the only chance they have is the Gojo and Sukuna, make that a movie. And it's long enough to be a movie as well. You can feature the setup prior and even like set up some aftermath stuff as well, which could lead into another movie. Do you think Morrigan will kill Nezha and have the first kill in the apocalypse? Yeah, I could see that being the case, because Nezha is like being built as like a god droid or like something created by the gods in a sense. It seems like that's the path they're going. So in that sense, killing him may not matter that much, so they may actually do it. Because they are allowed to kill in the apocalypse. It just hasn't happened so far. Even though Ra is going to be scarred for life and pretty much should be dead, but it seems like he survived. And likewise for Susanoo and... Oh, we know Prometheus is alive, but yeah. All of them are insanely damaged, on the brink of death. Like, there are appealing aspects from, like, week-by-week episodes, like building up hype. But I think something like that, like speaking of money they can make, I think a movie would definitely make them way more money. And it seems to be the current trend. They, because doesn't Mappa do Chainsaw Man as well? And aren't they doing movies instead of a series? So it seems like that's going to be the new trend. Bilal's fighting Leviathan, right? That's going to be something. I'm very excited for the right side of the bracket. Or the demonic-like creatures. It'd be roaming on that side. And apparently some Bleach movie news I saw somewhere as well. So yeah, there's a lot of movie news. I mean, they even released a solo leveling movie before season 2 came out. Like, so long they don't do like the Netflix model where they drop whole seasons at one time. I think week by week is better. Because while, yes, it's fun to binge read a new season when it drops on Netflix, like what Record of Ragnarok, Kengen Baki does, but it kind of limits the hype and build up for like what's coming, new episodes. Like, it's like a big thing for like 3 days, then everyone's watched it and like everyone moves on. But if it's like 10, 12 weeks of like one episode, it builds up hype and like discussion much more. Like, I saw that a lot when I think was it JoJo Part 5 was like weekly, and there was like it was trending everywhere week by week. Everyone was talking about it, and then when Netflix got a hold of it and they released Part 6 in like big chunks of parts, it was like popular for like a day or two, and then no one will talk about it. It just died off. Not gonna lie, when you just comment or type in the chat, I want to see Death in action. I thought you just said I want to see the Death Note live action. I'm like, mate, you do not want to watch that. I think in overall success, weekly probably does better. You can even see that as well. A lot of the Korean drama shows on Netflix tend to release like weekly or like bi-weekly stuff like that rather than big chunks. So I think it's more success if they do it like that. But even then, other series kind of rely on big chunks of episodes as well. So maybe not. Who knows? I have not seen the Bleach live action. Is JoJo Part 7 going to be released weekly, or is it going to be a big chunk release on Netflix once again? We know Record of Ragnarok's going to be a big chunk. We know Baki's going to be that. And if we ever get Kengan Omega, it's probably going to be that. Pretty much if they're on Netflix, it's probably going to be a big chunk of episodes. Unless it's already a weekly airing series. Probably weekly, but not confirmed. Yeah, I had seen some of the Japanese Death Note live action, but the Netflix one, I was actually hyped for that when it was like about to come out. I think I even watched it the day it released as well, and that shit was something else. I mean, as a kid, I watched the Dragon Ball Evolution, and that shit was greatness. And I think tried watching the One Piece live action season 1. I got like 5 episodes in, but it just wasn't for me. I don't think One Piece works out well in live action. A bit too goofy and cringe in that format, I would say. Maybe the best approach is drop the first 3 episodes at the same time, because that's about how many episodes it takes for someone to get hooked, and then do the week by week. Maybe that's like the definitive best approach. Get people in with the first 3 episodes, because that can be watched in 1 sitting or 2 sittings, and people would be like, if you watch 3 episodes of something, you're more likely to continue watching and finish it. So then release it week by week to like milk people's attention and discussion about it. Particularly if like episode 3 concludes with like a big cliffhanger or something. Or like a big reveal you want to see more of. Freeland dropped the first 4 episodes. There you go. And that's what, the highest rated anime of all time now? Then maybe that's the approach. Drop a few episodes and then week by week. Particularly if it's going to be like longer than 12 episodes. Or like a decently long season. Bro, what is this comment, man? These Bucky fans that leave comments, they gotta be like missing half their brain. This guy's like, do you know who Jack's... I can't even speak. Do you know who Jack's dad is? It's the ogre. Did you know? Like, what's this guy saying, bro? Welcome, mate. We were ranking all the Record of Ragnarok fights. And this is my personal current fight ranking tier list. For reference, the Buddha one is Buddha and Zero's fight counted as 1. This was voted on by the chat. But if you count them as separate, the ranking changes up a bit. But this is my current fight ranking. Give me 1 second. Hello, hello. Your boy has returned. After the little...
Hello, hello.
Oh, shit is repeating. We need a theory video on how Raiden was in bed with like 20 goddesses from 6 different pantheons, and how he still had the gusto to admittedly want to smash Brunhilde. I mean, Giga Chad. Unfortunately, he couldn't successfully smash Shiva in a alternative way. Bro fumbled. What other questions did I miss? Where did Gangster go? Gang. What do you guys reckon is the most underrated fight? Not that you think is the best, but one from like a fandom's perspective you think is underrated. Round 9. The hair reveal. But the truth is, there is no hair. It is simply a bold man. A bold, mysterious man. That is the truth. That is the reality of the situation. Round 11 underrated? I feel like over time it'll be much more appreciated. Is this the shock ending out of nowhere? Kinda like put distaste in some people, hating on it. But even then, it's not the shortest fight. So, the complaints are unwarranted. Yeah, I'll turn the face cam off in a second. Or turn it back on in a second. If I wear the glasses too long, it like crushes my nose. The sniffer is too big. I think I was saying before, if I had to go somewhere real quick, Kentucky vs Odin. What are your guys' predictions on where it will rank when it comes to best to worst fights? And how long do you think it's going to be? Do you think it's going to be the longest fight, meaning it has to be 13 chapters long, or 12 chapters long? Or average? In my opinion, the most underrated fight is Jack vs Hercules. He gets glazed a lot, but not as much it deserved. True. It's peak, but it deserves beyond peak. What is a record Ragnarok character who you think is underrated? Out of the fighters, I'll say Apollo. Apollo is one of the certified GOATs. It's just unfortunate that his opponent was quite mid. Will you ever bring back the mask? Potentially. It's still sitting like right behind me. It could be strapped on at any point. Every year or so, gotta change it up a bit. Subtle adjustments. Odin wins a year of chapters, so like 12 chapters, I guess, could be the longest, or definitely one of the longest. I believe the longest so far is Jack and Hercules, which is like 11 chapters or something like that. I do think it's going to be a long one though, as well. I agree. Kind of has to be. There's a lot of stuff to be revealed about Odin and to see from him. So much so, I don't think they can finish it all in 7 chapters. Unless they're really trying to get through the series and finish it. For whatever reason. That is a good point. Zeus isn't really... Like, Zeus doesn't have much of a fan base as a character. Even though he's, without a doubt, one of the most, if not the most important god we've seen. I think he's the only characters as well, or only god we've seen at every stage in his life. When he was a baby, like kid, then like adult, and then now old man. Like, we've gotten a lot from Zeus. And bro is like the definitive Giga Chad. Always down for wars and fights. Maybe him defeating Adam pissed too many people off. I hope that goal is Kintoki's Valkyrie, because when he loses, it will arguably be the death that affects Brunhilde the most. I mean, I wish. Killing Go-Off would be greatness. Huge balls from the fans. I mean, from the authors if they did that. The biggest around. Colossal sized, even. They should, for real, do that without a doubt. Do we think Brunhilde is going to get killed off though? Or do you think she will live? I feel like she has to, because what's the whole point of saving Siegfried and all that if she just gets killed off? But then as well, who knows? Perhaps the goal is more annoying in the anime because you have to sit there and listen to her yap. More impactful than just reading the lines quickly. But if anything, it seems likely they're going to have the remaining hidden Valkyrie we haven't seen yet. And that will be the one for Kentucky. At least that's what I'm guessing. But if it's Brunhilde, I wouldn't be incredibly shocked. And it would make a lot of sense. I feel like at this point, goal is going to be with Nostradamus. Considering the like little setup between them two and interactions. Like her character makes sense. Like the Valkyrie, who's a little kid, knows nothing. Seeing her sisters get killed off for like seemingly no important reason to save what humanity she knows nothing about, and like other aspects. I was meant to do a reaction stream to a video last week. I forgot to do that. And I guess I can't do it today as well. Unlucky. I mean, technically, if the gods win, and Odin succeeds in his plan of reviving the primordial gods, Odin's going to want to kill all the other gods as well. So we're going to see the likes of Zeus, Apollo, Shiva, and all these other gods fight Odin and the primordials. Yeah, I think it was the Father Silver How Humanity Could Have Won or something video I had saved. That's the one I was going to do a reaction to. But I keep forgetting. If I do stream tomorrow, I'm not sure if I will, but if I do, I guess I will do that. It'll be a reaction stream tomorrow. Which means I will try and get my Anubis video out after the stream. Probably in like 12 hours or so from now. I probably won't react to the verse battle one, to be honest, but the other one I'm decently interested in. Well, with that, I shall end the stream and get working on this Anubis video so I can more likely to not stream tomorrow as well if I get this Anubis video out today. So, hope you enjoy your day. Thanks for stopping by. Stream will be left up on the channel if you want to go back to any point. But after that, it'll be made for members only. But you got like 48 hours or so. Laters, boys. Thanks for stopping by.